Once you hear the word drug lord, these names will surely pop into your mind. Pablo Escobar, El Chapo, and Al Capone. These infamous figures have become synonymous with the illegal drug trade and organized crime, as they were the leaders of the most notorious gangs in history. The protagonist of today's story is totally different from these names, but still can be considered a drug lord. He was a teenager with no previous experience in the field and managed to do what others were incapable of. He had been running his business on his own for a long time from his small room in his parents' apartment, and no one had any idea of his involvement in the drug trade. He managed to make millions of dollars out of the drug trade in only a few years, just through the internet. Keep watching to discover the thrilling story of the teenager who became a millionaire and one of the biggest drug lords in history. Today's story is about a German young boy in his 20s whose name is Maximilian Schmidt, also known as Max. Max used to live with his parents in Leipzig and had a tiny room that was slightly larger than a prison cell, but for Max, it was his sanctuary. Max spent most of his time in that room, and none of his parents had ever entered his room. He enjoyed being alone without being interrupted by someone else, so he used to lock the door on himself and lived in his own world. Max had a computer in his room, where he mostly used it to engage in forum conversations with strangers. Since he had no real-life friends, he enjoyed having chats online. Chatting with strangers was a trend in 2013, and everyone goes online to make new friends. So Max, just like others of his age, used to visit chatting websites. That's what he spent the day on. Through one of these websites, Max got to know someone who became Max's online friend. They used to spend nights chatting. They weren't talking about serious matters. They were only exchanging talks about new movies, video games, websites, and so on. One day, that online friend asked Max if he was familiar with a website named Silk Road. Max replied that he had no idea about it. Then he told Max that Silk Road is an online marketplace operating on the dark web where all kinds of illegal products are listed for sale. For those who don't know what the dark web is, it's a part of the internet that is inaccessible through traditional search engines, and it requires particular web browsers and specific software configurations to access. Out of curiosity, Max decided to check out the website to see what it was. First, he installed the needed web browser, which would let him access the website. Max then searched for Silk Road, and he was surprised by what he found. He discovered a wide variety of drugs, including ecstasy, cocaine, cannabis, and many others, that can be ordered online and delivered to the customer with just a few clicks. The website used Bitcoin for transactions that was known for its anonymity and ease of use. As previously mentioned, Max used to spend his entire day in front of his computer, as he had nothing else to do. So he kept browsing the website, scrolling up and down, reading customer reviews, and checking the product descriptions. His obsession with the website grew as he spent more time on it. He read articles about it, examined the website in great detail, and became so interested in learning everything he could about it. Eventually, Max concluded that the website's main activity was selling drugs, only drugs, and nothing else. And the reason why there were many sellers on the website was that the profit margin was so high that it attracted many people to participate in the illegal activity. And it seems that it attracted Max as well, as he found himself fascinated by the illicit drug trade. The more he delved into the website, the more he realized how complex and organized the operation was, fueling his curiosity even further. The figures Max saw, the amounts of the listed products, and the margin profit encouraged him to take part in the drug trade, but not as a seller on the Silk Road website, but as the owner of a rival one. Max knew he could do it better. Max went back to his online friend and told him that he liked the website he had given him. They have almost everything. However, something is missing in the website and has to be improved. Max suggested to his friend that they work together on creating a new website that would compete with the Silk Road. He told him that with a few changes, they could make a better and more professional website. Max proposed that they could focus on better security measures and a more user-friendly interface to attract more customers, using better pictures and descriptions, responding to customers' questions constantly, and improving customer service. By making all these improvements and offering a wider variety of products and services, they could surpass the success of the Silk Road. However, his friend was somehow intimidated by Max's proposal and started telling Max that this was illegal and risky, and they would get into serious trouble if they were caught. Then Max decided to work on his own to implement his ideas and create a successful online marketplace. Despite his friend's reservations, Max was determined to make his vision a reality and was willing to take the necessary risks to achieve success. During his examination of the website, Max found many sellers. Some of them provide the best prices, others have the best customer support, and others are good at something else. But no one provides it all in one. So Max decided to be the one that offers the best of all worlds. With a unique combination of competitive pricing, top-notch customer service, high-quality products, and the best shipping service, Max aimed to revolutionize the online drug shopping experience for customers. In order to turn his vision into reality, Max started asking himself several questions, such as, how can I ship better than them? How can I have a bigger profit margin? How can I get more satisfied customers than them? Max knew that if he found answers to these questions, he would absolutely create a professional platform that would compete with the Silk Road and revolutionize the industry. Initially, Max had to purchase goods that he could resell on his own website, but since he wasn't a drug consumer, he had no idea where he could get the drugs from. As you know, most drug consumers have contacts with drug dealers, which Max did not have. Max needed a supplier. For this reason, he contacted one of the Silk Road sellers, who goes by the alias Red Bull, to see if he could provide him with the drugs he needed. Max told him that he wanted to start selling, so he needed 25 grams of cocaine and 10 grams of MDMA to test. Red Bull gave Max the price and told him that he could only pay with Bitcoin, and his order would be delivered to the pack station. It is a type of automated self-service parcel terminal used for receiving and sending parcels, which is located in public areas such as train stations, shopping centers, or near residential areas. And it can be used to receive parcels ordered online by having them delivered directly to the pack station rather than to the home address. Max agreed and placed the order to be delivered to the pack station near his apartment building. A few days later, Max went to the pack station, picked up his order, and went back home. As previously mentioned, Max wasn't a consumer, so this was his first contact with drugs. For him, this was new and unusual, so he started discovering its smell and texture. He even looked it up on the internet to see what it was and how it could be used. He needed to know more about his products so he could write good descriptions for his online store. He wanted his customers to have all the information they needed before making a purchase. Max kept navigating the Silk Road website to see how people were selling the same products he had, and then he realized that he could take better pictures than theirs. Max had a very creative idea. He brought his Xbox, which had a piano black reflective surface, put it in front of his TV, and played a video of a fireplace to make a good reflection on the Xbox, and this was the result. Max now had products to sell and good pictures to upload, and the only thing that was missing was a platform where he could list his products. Max started working on his website. The first thing was the name. He named it Shiney Flakes. Next, Max designed a logo and created a user-friendly interface for customers to easily navigate through his products. He spent hours customizing and designing the layouts and adding all his products to the website. One of the things you should know is that Max didn't create his website on the dark web, but on the internet, normally just like any other website. It was accessible to everyone using the traditional web browsers. Max made his website look like any shoe store, but instead of shoes, there were drugs. He even made a section where customers could share their experience with the website and their feedback. They could even give ratings. The website was like Amazon, But the only difference was that Amazon had many sellers, while Shiney Flakes had only one seller. Besides, Max made frequently asked questions. In this section, he lists all the potential questions of the website users and their answers, in which he gave answers about the accepted payment methods, the website's shipping policy, the privacy policy, and many other questions. He also included information on how customers could contact customer service for further assistance. Of course, he would update the FAQ section regularly to address any new inquiries that may arise. The creation of the website took around 2 weeks. On December 10, 2013, Max got the idea of creating a website where he could sell drugs. 2 weeks later, exactly on the first day of Christmas, Shiney Flakes was published and ready to be used. And it quickly gained popularity among those looking to buy illegal substances. The website confused them. Everyone was wondering how this website was able to operate so normally on the internet, despite the illegal activities taking place on it. This was really a daring move from Max, which indicated his bravery and confidence. Someone else in his place would have scruples about engaging in such illegal activities, but Max was bold enough to take the risk and create a successful platform for drug sales in a cold-blooded manner, uncaring about the consequences as long as he profited from it. Max was confident that everything was under control. That's why he didn't think twice about the potential dangers of his actions. The website was created, and everything was fine. But Max had a problem. He had the store, and he was good at connecting with customers. But he wasn't the kind of person who liked to go out. He preferred to handle things from his computer in his quiet room. And here he thought of his online friend, who told him about the Silk Road website. He reached out to him again, told him what he had been doing during the past 2 weeks and everything about the website he created, and suggested that he handle the sales. To assure him, he told him to just follow his instructions, and everything would be fine. Max sent him the message and waited for his reply. Max started receiving orders on his website, Shiney Flakes, and his online friend hadn't responded to his message yet. He literally disappeared. Max sent him another message asking where he was and told him that people started to place their orders, so he needed him urgently. However, his friend never replied. At that moment, Max was confused about whether to give up or continue on his own. After a moment of thought, Max realized that he hadn't been working so hard on his website over the past few weeks to stop halfway, so he decided to take matters into his own hands and handle the orders and everything else himself. Max knew it would be challenging, but he was determined to make Shiney Flakes a success. Max brought all the necessary equipment to start his business: an electronic scale to weigh the amount ordered by the customer, a vacuum sealer to remove air from the small plastic bag and then seal it tightly to prevent air from re-entering, and a heat sealer to close the plastic bag by applying heat to its opening, causing the plastic to melt and fuse together. Max brought this equipment into his room, and none of his parents noticed. As previously mentioned, Max wasn't a consumer, so he was new to the field with no experience. He didn't even have information about the products he ordered from his supplier, and there were no online instructions, so he had to try things on his own. For example, one of the products he had was MDMA, which is a kind of drug that looks like a rock. Its shape and even texture were like a real rock. Max wanted to cut it into small pieces so he could ship the requested amount that the customer had ordered. He tried to cut it with a knife, but to no avail. It was very hard to cut with a knife. After struggling for a while, Max decided to reach out to his first supplier, Red Bull, for guidance on how to properly handle the product. Red Bull was like Max's mentor. He always shared knowledge with him and answered his questions. Max asked him how to break the MDMA, and Red Bull replied that he needed a hammer, a chisel, a plastic box, and that he had to pound it until it was broken. He also advised him to try not to breathe the dust from the MDMA. Max followed Red Bull's advice and successfully broke down the MDMA into smaller, more manageable pieces. He was relieved to finally be able to fulfill the customer's order without any further issues. With Red Bull's guidance, Max felt more confident in his ability to handle similar situations in the future. Max started receiving orders on his website, and his business began to grow gradually. He used to have 1 order a day, then 5, and then 10 a day. Even if he was still in the beginning stages of his business, Max was excited to see the growth and potential for success. Everything was going according to plan. He received the order, swiftly packed it, and shipped it off. Max set 2 major rules for himself to follow in order to avoid being caught. First, do not meet the customer in person for any reason. Second, try not to get caught while doing the shipping. Max knew that maintaining his anonymity was crucial to the success of his business, so he took extra precautions to ensure his identity remained hidden. For this reason, Max used to send the orders to his client by post. He used to send drugs in parcels discreetly packaged to avoid detection by authorities. This method wasn't really heard of at the time, but Max found it to be the most secure way to conduct his business without drawing unwanted attention. There were hundreds of postal boxes in Leipzig, so Max used to send parcels from different boxes. This way, Max made use of the postmen as his couriers, and the German postal service did a great job. As the website became popular among drug users, it quickly gained a reputation for providing high-quality products and discreet shipping. Customers also appreciated the responsive customer service that was available to answer any questions or concerns. This had led to a significant increase in orders, making the website one of the top choices for purchasing drugs online. The positive reviews and word-of-mouth recommendations further solidified its reputation in the market. In January 2014, Max received 5 to 10 orders a day, and he made 10 to 15 euros in sales, which was a lot for a fresh online store. Max kept working normally. He used to receive orders, pack them, and ship them without drawing too much attention to the growing success of his website. By the summer of 2014, Max had received 40 to 50 orders a day. His business was growing rapidly, and he was still working alone. Keep in mind that Max had never promoted his website. Most of his clients came through word of mouth or stumbled upon it through Google searches. Moreover, the majority of the website's customers were addicted, which means that they wouldn't order once but would come back repeatedly for more purchases, especially since Max provided a variety of high-quality products. Therefore, Max kept receiving more orders permanently. The thing that helped Max keep working without drawing attention or getting caught was the fact that he was considering the whole matter as a game. Despite all the money he earned out of this business, he didn't spend any of it. For most of the drug dealers, it's all about money. But for Max, it was more about the thrill of the challenge and outsmarting the authorities. He didn't care about the amount of money he made. The fun part for him was to watch his business grow. This mindset allowed him to stay under the radar and continue his operations successfully. Max kept working, and everything was going great. Most of his clients were from Germany. Shortly after, he started receiving orders from other countries, including Indonesia, China, and Australia, from all over the world. The strange thing was that one day he got an order from Colombia, the main source of drugs, something that he hadn't expected when he first started his business. In order to keep track of all the received orders, Max made an Excel list in which he kept all the information about the buyer, including his username, email, order number, and the ordered product. With this list, Max used to contact his clients to encourage them to make another purchase, trying to increase customer retention. Of course, Max, with this strategy, was violating the website privacy policy, as he had previously assured his clients in the FAQ section that none of their information was being registered. But at some point, he needed to improve his sales and customer retention. Max always tried to solidify his relationship with his clients. One of the ideas he got was to put a packet of gummy bears in the envelope, and this small gesture made a big impact on his clients. Their feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and they often mentioned the thoughtful touch in their reviews and referrals. Max's personalized approach helped him stand out in a competitive market and build long-lasting connections with his clients. During this period, that is, from the beginning of 2014 until the summer of 2014, Max had collected a significant sum of money from Bitcoin, which was equivalent to $1 million at the time, when the value of one Bitcoin was $400. Imagine if he had this amount of Bitcoin at the present time. Max would now have a fortune that worth tens of millions of dollars. Despite the considerable amount he had collected, Max kept working alone, of course. As the business grew, Max was running out of stock, and his supplier wasn't able to cover his demand, forcing him to find new suppliers in order to keep up with the increasing demand for his products. This challenge ultimately led Max to expand his network of suppliers and establish more reliable and diverse sources for his inventory. After searching, Max found a supplier who used to produce huge amounts of the products he needed, meaning he was able to produce any quantity Max needed to meet the demand of his growing business. Max began placing orders worth millions of dollars with his new supplier, and the latter used to produce them normally. The only problem he had was the delivery. Such huge quantities couldn't be delivered by post, as Max used to do with his first supplier, and he couldn't even meet him in person. So he had a brilliant idea. He asked the supplier to send his orders to his own home address and told him that he would send someone to pick them up. Of course, the supplier didn't know that he was delivering the products right to Max's own home address. Max used to talk with him in the third person. This way, he looked more professional. At this moment, you may be wondering two major questions. First, wasn't it risky for Max to give his supplier his own home address and ask him to deliver his orders right in front of his door? Second, how did Max bring the huge packages into his room without arousing suspicion from his family? First, Max didn't care much about the packages, whether they were being delivered to his house or somewhere else, because he believed that even if someone had found the packages, he wouldn't go to the police and tell them that he found drugs. Max's main concern was to stay anonymous and never meet a supplier in person or a client. As for the second question, Max's relationship with his parents was weird. Max led his own life in his room. He used to cook, clean his room, and take care of himself without needing much help from his parents. The only thing that his mom used to do for him was the laundry, and she only used to put the laundry basket in front of his room door, and then he would take care of it himself. They were like strangers living under the same roof, rarely exchanging more than a few words each day. His parents knew nothing about their son. Could you imagine that Max's mom didn't go into her son's room for over a year? This was weird, but this is how Max used to live with his parents. Max's business was running perfectly. The orders were increasing gradually. Most of the reviews on the website were positive, and everything was going fine. This lasted for over a year. However, the fact that we are telling Max's story in today's video with all these details means that he was caught, and everything was revealed. But how did he get caught if he was taking everything into consideration and respecting the rules that he set for himself when he first started his business? As previously mentioned, Max used to ship the orders by post without indicating his address as the sender. Sometimes, the recipient who ordered from the website didn't receive his parcel, whether because he wasn't in his house or simply because it got lost. And because the parcel has no return address, it returns to the post office, where they inspect the contents or could be opened accidentally by someone. The German authorities began receiving numerous reports of people finding drugs in large quantities in parcels, which sparked suspicions and led to an investigation. The authorities were at a loss as to how to proceed, so they took one of the parcels and attempted to track the recipient's laptop activities in an attempt to obtain additional information. This step revealed that the recipient browsed a particular website very frequently, Shiney Flakes. The authorities were taken aback upon discovering the website, as they had no idea it even existed. They were shocked to find out that narcotics were being sold on a website that was available to everyone on the freely accessible internet, and that they were unaware of it. As they found the website, they were somehow relieved. They believed that they only had to find the website's creators, and this would lead them to the gang behind all of this. It was as simple as that for them. So, this was their priority. Upon examining the website, they discovered that all of its information was concealed. The domain name and the details of its developer were registered on a US-based server owned by a company called Cloudflare. The authorities contacted the company, requesting any details that would aid in identifying the people who created the website, to which Cloudflare replied that their strict privacy policies and dedication to protecting their clients' identities prevented them from providing any information, leaving the authorities with a dead end in their investigation. At this moment, the authorities were disappointed and powerless. They felt like things had changed. Perpetrators now have new methods and options at their disposal that the police don't have, making it increasingly difficult to combat crime effectively. The gap between law enforcement capabilities and criminal tactics continues to widen, making criminals always a step ahead of them. The police thought that Max chose to conceal his website data on a server based in the USA to outsmart them and prevent them from tracking his website down, because he knew that the company responsible for the server wouldn't provide them with the information they needed. On the contrary, Max later stated that he chose the server in the USA because of its high security measures and encryption protocols, ensuring that his data remained safe from cyber attacks and unauthorized access, so that the website stayed online no matter what happened. Eventually, the authorities realized that their opportunities to catch the individuals responsible for the website through contacting the server company were few and far between. As a result, they decided to follow the traditional ways of investigating. They had no other options than surveillance and undercover operations to gather evidence and track down the suspects. Despite the challenges, they remained determined to bring the perpetrators to justice and put an end to the illegal activities. During this period, Max was still working. He was at the height of everything. He used to receive 15,150 orders per day, which is a significant increase. Imagine he moved from 5 to 10 orders a day to more than 15,000 orders per day. He stated that he used to make 100,000 euros in sales. Keep in mind that he was doing all of this on his own. He used to deal with the suppliers, sales, packaging, shipping, dealing with the server, and managing the website. This had a great impact on Max, as he lives in total stress, constantly working long hours to keep up with the demand and maintain the success of his business, and barely taking any breaks. His daily routine was destroyed. He only slept 3 to 4 hours a night, and his health started to deteriorate. Despite the financial success, Max's well-being and quality of life were suffering greatly due to the overwhelming workload. This automatically affected his business, as he began making errors in orders, experiencing delays in shipping, and receiving complaints from customers about the quality of the products. The police are now focused on the post boxes and the dealers in Leipzig, willing to get a lead to follow to arrest the suspects by conducting undercover investigations, observation, and phone surveillance. This was the only way that could lead them to the source of the illegal drug distribution network in the city. A few days later, the police would achieve an important breakthrough in their fight against drug trafficking in Leipzig. They found Red_Bull, Max's first supplier and mentor. There wasn't much information about how they did it, but it was a significant development in their investigation. The police kept monitoring Red_Bull and tracking his movements until they saw him one day putting a package in the package station, where he used to put Max's orders, and the latter came to pick them up. They kept monitoring the package station and eventually caught Max in the act of picking up his orders as usual. The police thought that Max was a member of the gang involved in the drug trade, so they put him under surveillance so he could lead them to the whole gang. The police didn't know they were monitoring the mastermind of all this illegal operation. Several days later, they saw one of Max's suppliers putting a huge package in front of Max's house and took pictures of him. On February 26, 2015, after more than a year of selling narcotics online, which was never done before, Max's downfall came closer than it had ever been. On this day, the police decided to raid the house. The place they were expecting was the headquarters of the drug ring operating in Leipzig. That day, Max woke up late at 10 a.m., because he had to work into the night. He went out at 11 a.m. to pick up some packages, then went back and started working on his orders as usual. At around 2 p.m., Max heard the sound of drilling on his door. As he was processing what that sound was, the law enforcement forces stormed his room with guns drawn, shouting for him to get on the ground. Max's heart raced as he realized his time was up, and his empire was crumbling before his eyes. Max later stated that it wasn't fear he felt at that moment. It was a feeling of disbelief that it was happening to him. He never imagined his illicit activities would catch up to him in such a dramatic fashion. The reality of the situation hit him hard as he was handcuffed and led away, leaving behind a life he had built. After raiding Max's room and arresting him, the police couldn't believe two major things. First, the fact that he was the leader of the drug trafficking operation, not just a member as they initially thought, and that he was working alone without any accomplices except for his suppliers. They were expecting that there would be a larger network or an armed gang involved in this operation, but they were shocked when they found out that the mastermind was a teenager in his 20s. Second, the quantity of drugs they had seized was much larger than anticipated, indicating the scale of Max's operation. They first expected that there would be 10 or 20 kilos of narcotics in the room, but they ended up finding a ton. 1,000 kilos were hidden in various compartments throughout the room. Imagine that in order to transport the seized quantity of narcotics, they had requested a van. This quantity of orders is worth 4 million euros. Max was brought to court and sentenced to a 7-year prison term, and to pay the state 3 million euros. He served 4 years of his sentence and was released in 2019. However, the police stated that they had found only a portion of Max's money. As he had 3 Bitcoin wallets, they only managed to access one of them because he wrote down the password on a sticky note that the forensics team found in his room. The police are still working to access the remaining 2 wallets to recover the rest of Max's funds. They estimated that their balance might be as much as 10 million euros, and this is when the Bitcoin value was less than $400. So the actual value could be significantly higher now. We have reached the end of Max's story. Tell me what you think about it in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.